Yo, yo, yo. Today is February 7th, 2023, and this is going to be a video about Karnival by Disfiguring the Goddess. So in this video, I want to talk about kind of like the inspirations that I was at this point when I wrote it instrumentally mainly, and I think I might talk about a little bit about the inspirations lyrically and kind of how this album kind of came about and why it's different than other albums. And by saying that, every Disfiguring the Goddess album is pretty different than the other ones. But I will say this, and I mean, I don't know if this is something that other people think about. I'm sure it is, other bands or artists or whatnot. But one of the major influences of Disfiguring the Goddess is Disfiguring the Goddess. You know, past records are super influential to future records. The concept of what Disfiguring the Goddess is super inspiring to the project itself. So that's what I think is great about the project in a lot of ways, is it's just, I do take inspiration from other things. I'll get into those a little more about past ones and, you know, ones specifically on this record. But you know, and there's obviously a formula, like I've been shaped subconsciously with my taste about what I've been listening to musically my whole life, you know, especially in the heavy metal areas. But with Disfiguring the Goddess is a massive influence, probably number one, which I think is cool. And some of that is nice, you know, for just filling out my own lane, obviously, like going into that deep abyss of just like creativity and carving out new lanes, you know. And you could hear that on every Disfiguring album with the variances of production or inspirations, or like to compare Karnival to Soothe. Karnival is complicated in a lot of ways, and Soothe is very simple. Lyrically, Karnival is I don't want to say complicated, but it's poetic and vague, but also personal, but also not personal. And it kind of blends the two to create kind of like a weird, I think, dream state. And that's kind of common on most Disfiguring records, but Soothe, the lyrics are very, very simple. Like some of those songs just have like a few lines that just repeat, you know. I'm not sure where you could check out all the lyrics. I really need to work on getting the lyrics live on Spotify. I think Dark Lyrics is updated. I shout out to Hydra. I know he's always kind of updating things like that and always like wants to know lyrics right away. And I think with Soothe, they didn't release the lyrics for a while. I actually sent them to Hydra, I think, before I even posted them online. He wanted to make some lyric videos and stuff. So shout out Hydra. But yeah, that's a big thing with the inspiration behind Disfiguring. I just think that's awesome. Feels good. Sometimes when I find myself doing certain patterns, like I don't overthink this stuff too much, but where I think maybe another band would be like, we already did that before, let's do something else. Like with Disfiguring, I go, that's Disfiguring style. If there's a pattern I want to fall into, and I feel natural to do that, I'll do it, you know? And I'm just like, that's the style. So maybe that should encourage some of you to have more confidence in kind of what you're doing. Musically though, this is all on shuffle mode. Musically though, I was very inspired by Morbid Angel and Ulcerate. Those two bands particularly were very inspiring on this process. Like I think Manipulating Violence was originally called Morbid, and not that it sounds like a Morbid Angel song, but I just, that was like, I don't know. I love the really fast and kind of consistent double bass patterns on Karnival. You know, a lot of that, just like a lot of groove, where especially on this song right now, Clutching Onto Bondage, there's just like relentless sections where, you know, the riffs The song structuring is kind of more, I don't want to say like death metal, but it is, but they just things don't really repeat, but the sections will extend quite a bit, which I like. You know, like once the groove hits, it like stays there for a while. You know what I mean? And then it just goes on to the next thing. If you kind of want to revisit the groove, you have to replay the song, which is, I think makes it a little more non-traditional with the non-repeating elements, really. But the extended focus on certain elements is I really enjoy about this record. And I think Caterpillar had a lot of that too. I need to do a video on Caterpillar and listen to it, talk about it and whatnot. It's obviously a lot more fresh when I'm listening to it. One great thing about music is it's always triggering memories, you know? And I know as the listeners, in terms of people listening to Disfiguring, they get their own memories imprinted on them wherever they're at in life and whatnot. And I do too. Like I'm definitely getting like a imprint on this time period with the release of Karnival, but it also kind of takes me back to when I was making it and all the different times that I've worked on this record, you know. So if I listen to Caterpillar and talk about it, I'm sure the music will bring out a lot of like memories that I, you know, was with during the creation of that process. But I know that was like a very similar influence on Caterpillar as well. Again, this isn't a video about Caterpillar, but you'll hear similar kind of concepts. And I would love to do, I can't wait to do a video about Caterpillar. And Caterpillar and Karnival are, in my opinion, super similar, like lyrically too. Like they both dabble in a lot of like personal things that I kind of like distort, or sometimes what's another good word for it? Not distort, but I don't know. It's like intensify, you know, brutalize, or fantasize, you know, sexualize even maybe, you know, like things that I just kind of make a little more extreme, just because that's like the vibe, and that's kind of like the creative profile I like to have when I'm writing the lyrics, you know, a flow state of like letting more edgy things make it into the lyrics. But you know, typically they're, especially on both those records lyrically were I don't want to say personal. Like I said in a previous video, songs can mean like 300 different things, and they could mean a bunch of different shit to me, and they can mean a bunch of different shit to you, and all that is valid, and all that is, I don't want to say intended, but it is, you know. I'm not going out of my way to make sure that's the intended reciprocation of this stuff, but that's just how it flows, you know. So but yeah, it's funny because I wrote Caterpillar in 2016 or 2017, I mean. Maybe it was 2018. I think it was 2018. Lyrically wrote it then. And then I lyrically wrote Karnival last year. There was a couple passages that I wrote back in 2015 that I actually have held on to and kept. I actually think there might be some of the same lyrics used on Karnival and on Caterpillar, which is cool. These two albums are more linked. They're linked in more ways than one, I think. But the lyrics are dope for this record. Again, like, none of this is meant to be really taken like literally. Some of these lyrics are very violent, and it's obviously just like a kind of creative expression, you know, like you would make a horror film or something, very similar. And there's some sci-fi elements and stuff, but there is like underlining things that I'm feeding into it. And there's some cool ones. Like I know I wrote a lot about meditation on this record. I'm looking through the lyrics right now. Like, I was doing a lot of Sam Harris's Waking Up app last year. I still have my subscription, but I just haven't been doing it. And that's kind of a trippy app if you've ever done it or know anything about that guy. It's like some of the things on there are so, I don't know, almost like dark, you know? That guy must be interesting. I don't know too much about him, but you know, I'm not gonna make this whole thing about Sam Harris's take on meditation. very complicated. But there's some cool things on here. And like some of the times the themes will get switched. Like I'll have a song that's like talking about one thing and then instantly switches to something else in the middle of the song. And you know, just saying that happens on some of these. I think it actually adds a lot of like replay out of them, you know. Yeah, I think Below the Water has some like things like that in a way. For sure, Cut the Canvas. My Thoughts Are Floating. I see them go around and around. I'm blacked out. There is not a single thing that I am in control of. I'm paying no attention. This takes the most skill, you know? This takes that feverish will. This takes that most skill. I sit and practice my discipline, you know? Because it's hard. The whole thing is hard to pay attention to, you know, how your brain pays attention to stuff, you know? So there's some interesting like little like things that just were gripped onto, and I write these in like a really focused flow state. Like I love writing the lyrics for this stuff. I'm just, you know, I don't think too much about it. Like there's in Fixation on Strife and Strangulation, there's a word in here called Frankenson of mine. I don't think that's a word, but it's cool, you know. So I don't know. You should check out the lyrics though. There's some really cool, dark, twisted lyrics on this thing. There's some badass stuff on here. Again, it's not all personal, so if you read something weird in there, don't think I'm a weirdo or something. But I did write it, you know. It's like a sick horror film, you know. But it's like twisted, you know. There's all kinds of cool stuff in here. But yeah, I really like it. So anyways, the main intention of this video is share some backup on Karnival, but also probably inspire you guys to have more confidence in yourself to do whatever it is you want to do and to not think too much about it, you know. Part of the magic you're going to create is going to come in part from not thinking about stuff and be flowing. That's also, I'll make another video about this later, but that's also why I really like to set limitations up when I work on music. If I have too many variables, I can't flow too much because I'm thinking too much, you know. I want to kind of set the, you know, have the canvas, and I want to do my thing with my colors I have, you know. I don't want to, in the middle of my painting, go, you know, change what I'm doing or add more, you know, go to the store and get a new brush or colors or something. I think it throws the thing off. You know, if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna make a new painting after I finish this one, you know. So it allows me to flow better and to make more use of my time. And in my time, I really mean attention. So I hope this video was the sickest video I've ever seen. And see you guys later. Thank you. Peace.